Hey everyone, Warwick's here. So we're back with some warrior updates here. I've done a video kind of going over the initial class changes. The more that I've learned about them, I've kind of summarized them here. I think protection's in a pretty good space overall. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with Colossus to try and make it a little bit more viable. Maybe the loss of the tier set, loss of tier set will be able to do that. Fury Warrior, they're down bad, man. Like, I don't like, the more I've learned about the changes, I haven't experimented with it because I don't have alpha, but I've been reading the changes. I've been watching a couple of warrior players that are in the alpha. I'm playing Fury currently just because I finally caved and I'm playing it. But it's definitely in a position where I think that it needs quite a bit more help. It needs to be rethought in terms of its steps of progression. Like, they're giving it crit scaling, but then the crit scaling stuff doesn't actually matter, and like the changes don't do anything to kind of uphold the fantasy. The single-minded fury thing, I'm of the opinion that it's okay. Like, I'm down to have one-handed mogs and not actually have a talent for it. Arms warriors, there's been mixed reaction on it. They're integrating slam a lot more. They're removing the things like overpower buffing mortal strike, which a lot of people love that loop. I do like that loop personally, but I'm actually think the arms changes are pretty good. Incorporating slam a lot more into the mortal strike loop varies up the gameplay in a way that arms hasn't seen in like 10 years. So I'm curious to see how it plays, but reading it, I think it's in a good place. Now, the one thing that wasn't announced with Warriors' initial changes was their Apex talents. That has been changed now that the uh, phase 3 of the alpha testing is ongoing. So in this video, we're going to overlook those here as I did a quick 2-minute recap of my general thoughts on the Warrior changes. If you want to see a more fleshed out video, go check out the one on the channel. So let's start with arms. Their Apex talent is called Master of Warfare. Overpower has a chance to upgrade Slam into Heroic Strike. So Heroic Strike making a return, but with a twist. For those of you that are newer Warrior players or haven't been playing WoW all that long, Heroic Strike was a very staple talent. I know from the early days of WoW. I don't remember when it was removed. I believe it was Mystic Pandaria. But from the early days of WoW, basically, it was a rage spender that was on your swing timer. So there's a lot of early gameplay loop of trying to mix in your heroic strikes in with slam, which used to have a cast time, and mortal strike. So that was kind of the early gameplay loop of Arms Warrior. It wasn't very good, but it was there. So now it's making a return here, being converted into an ability that quote-unquote upgrades slam. So it definitely strikes an opponent, causing high physical damage and granting you a stack of Master of Warfare, allowing your attacks to penetrate 3% armor for 30 seconds, and multiple applications of this may overlap. So I think the goal here is you're making, you want to try to get these heroic strikes stacked up, and then you hit a mortal strike that's big, fat, and juicy into a target that has multiple armor pen stacks on it. I can see the gameplay loop there, adding for a real nice burst. It gives Arms Warriors, it is something else to track because you want to see what your armor pen stack are looking like. So if they make that easy to do, then great. But on the surface, I like this effect. Armor pen is something that you don't see a lot of anymore in World of Warcraft. It was removed pretty heavily after Wrath of the Lich King, when armor pen stacking became like the thing to do, because it just became too broken. It was like hit and then armor pen, like you didn't care about anything else. So armor pen making a little bit of a return here is quite interesting. I think this has interesting PvP ramifications as well, especially with the removal of defensives. Armor kind of matters a lot more than it used to. So having something like this is going to be good. And then of course in PvE, anytime you can create the opportunity to have armor penetration in PvE, I think is very good. So, or at least is interesting and fun idea. Alright, the second hero talent, once you spend 2 points in, each stack of Master of Warfare increases mortal strike and cleave damage by 10%. I think critical strike damage by 10%. So there's, excuse me, sorry about that. So there is still a big influence, obviously, to mortal strike. And then when Master of Warfare fades, the cooldown of Colossus Smash is reduced by 5 seconds. So a big gameplay loop of working on. Let's see. Let's do. The talent trees. Whatever. But basically, with the way that the talent trees have been working, they're making Kalash to Smash something that you're going to cast more often, but it may not be as potent. Or you can make it a little bit more potent, but it doesn't last as long. So you're getting kind of the best of both worlds with how you're going to set up for Kalash to Smash. So for arms, Master of Warfare, I think it'll be interesting. I think you will take it, just because, again, the armor penetration, I think, is the biggest part of this. And then at the same time, you might as well just lean into it. So overall, I think this is pretty solid. I'll be curious to test it, obviously, if I can ever get into alpha or eventually when I get into beta. But I do think this is a good start for the Apex talent for Arms Warriors. Arms Warriors looking like it might be the early choice for meta, because Fury, their changes aren't looking good, but let's look at their Apex talent. During Recklessness, critical strikes fuel your thirst for blood, granting you a stack of Rampaging Berserker. Rampaging Berserker increases your strength by 1% per stack and lasts 20 seconds after Recklessness ends. Rampage Rage cost is reduced by 30, and Rampage damage is increased by 20% during Recklessness, and Rampage extends the duration of Ramping Berserker by 2 seconds. Honestly, not a fan of this. So I've been very much on the table and on record saying that I hate when classes lean so heavily into their cooldown that if you do a good cooldown, you're a god. If you do a bad cooldown, you're last on the damage meters. This Apex talent very much plays into it. Now, Recklessness is available a lot, so it's not as punishing as, say, like screwing up a combustion in the current versions of WoW is for like Fire Mage. But leaning into a cooldown-based system, I think, is not good for Fury, which has always kind of been the quote-unquote stable, consistent damage profile. So leaning into that cooldown-centric thing kind of goes against everything that Fury stood for a long, long time. I think they really need to sit down and rethink Fury on the whole. I don't think it's going in a direction that's going to make a lot of players happy. I'm not, as someone that doesn't love Fury as much as Arms anyways, like, this is kind of okay for me because I'll just play Arms and be content. But it is something that I think for Fury fans, and I know quite a few of them, they really need to probably sit down and think about this one again, because I don't think they're doing things with Fury that actually put the spec in a good direction. I'm very concerned about it at the very least. Alright, and for Arms, Apex talent Phalanx. Shield Slam critical strikes unleash a wave of force, dealing physical damage to all enemies in front of you, and reduce the damage they do to you by 5% for 5 seconds. Hell yeah, brother. Damage dealt by Thunderclap and Phalanx's wave of force is increased by 20%, and while Shield Block is active, Shield Slam does 10% additional damage and has a 20% chance to increase critical strike, which then will activate the wave of force more often. So, fuck yeah. I think this is amazing. This leans into the idea of Warrior being stout and never fighting. You know, the fantasy of a proud warrior is that you're standing there and you're fighting until the very end, and no enemy will stop you until you're actually dead. So I love this. I think this is really, really awesome. It's probably one of the best Apex talents I've seen so far. It's definitely the best of the 3 warrior specs. Like, if we're tiering this out, Protections 1 is S tier. Like, I don't think there's much to say. Like, a tank does more damage. Like, one of the things that people constantly talk about is, in order to make tanking more appealing to people, they just need to do more damage. But then there are also the purists that are like, oh, tanks don't need to do damage. So you're kind of fighting that war, community war, at least. It's kind of dumb. But overall, I think this is a really good thing. Arms Warriors, I put it at like A-. I need to play with it and see how often we get that proc. Like, this is gonna matter. Like, if it's very low proc rate, then it's gonna suck. If it's a very high proc rate, then it's gonna be probably a little bit too much. So you got to find that nice little balance, and you're just gonna be overpowering and slamming a lot and kind of ignoring Mortal Strike, which I don't think you want to do with arms, considering Mortal Strike is the ability that is iconic to arms warriors. And Furies is in the dumpster. They need to rethink this one, I think. So that is my thoughts and reactions to the Warrior Apex talents and kind of where I feel like they are right now. Let me know what you think below. Don't remember to like, share, subscribe, or don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As a reminder for that, I'm on the road to 1,100 subs, 8,000 watch hours, all that fun jazz. I'll be trying to be more consistent about doing these. I've been just kind of dealing with a little bit of personal stuff between I got laid off 2 weeks ago, so I've been job hunting, and the mental toll that some of that has taken on me, and some things have taken on me. So I'm here, but I'm still streaming. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday is the current schedule, with some Saturdays being in. I better check that out here on YouTube and over on Twitch if you prefer that platform. So until the next video, hope you stay safe, hope you enjoy yourself, you're having fun, you keep on gaming, and we'll see you next time.